Hey everyone, I'm Lily, and I have tragic news. Well, first of all, sorry for already missing a week. I was sick for like 2 weeks, and fortunately I'd been working in advance, so I had a video ready. But I was sick for 2 weeks, and I didn't have a voice, and I couldn't really record, and when I finally had a window of opportunity, it fell through. So we're coming here now. And I was posting on Saturdays. I'm not sure why, because I've never posted really on Saturdays. And it was a schedule. It was always Monday and Friday. So I think I'm just going to move it back to Friday because, channel traditions and whatnot. But the tragic news is, of course, with my teacups. And if you followed my channel for a while there, I had 2 teacups I would have in my videos. There was this one, and there was a more colorful one. I mostly chose these because they didn't have like anything on it like my mom's school or, parish stuff or other recognizable thing. But unfortunately the multicolored one is no longer with us. My girlfriend accidentally spiked it out of my hand, at which point it fell to the floor and shattered into a million pieces. It will be missed, but, this one lives on and still carries on, but I do need to get some more cups that I like. That said, welcome to a new video. And again, I'm going with this PowerPoints format because it really worked for the last one, and it helps keep me on track and also gives you fun visuals, and I need to remember which side. Problem is okay, behind the scenes stuff. I have 2 screens here. I have one right here that you're looking at my camera, and that has what you see right here on it, which helps me know what I'm presenting on. It also is making me very orange right now. This won't be for the case it has the lighting beforehand. Did you expect to get professionalism and maintaining oh yes, I'm gonna be that? No, I'm gonna explain how I'm doing this right now. But then I have this other screen right here, which is my OBS window. And I don't know, I check here to just spot myself in the camera. If you want to see me be more professional, see whenever I flick my eyes over here. That's me checking myself in the window there and making sure I'm still in shot. But when I gesture to be hey, here, I'm doing it well now. There's the video. I'm tempted to be over here to be yes, here's the video, because it's right there. And I might also end up moving my camera around from video to video, or what corner I'm in, depending on the slide layout. So I'm gonna get that wrong all the time, but I don't care. But here we are. So, in the last 3 years since I've really been uploading consistently, I've played a lot of games, and I just wanted to do a little rambly video about what I've been playing lately. This isn't all 3 years, because 3 years is a lot of time of games and stuff. This is mostly the last year or so of things I've been playing a lot of. So those who might know me know that I play a fair bit of video games. I am a game developer, and I have been trying to branch out a bit more and have more variety in the games I play. Partially because, from a professional's perspective, it helps to get to play more things and do that. And I've always been a bit of a mono gamer where I get really into one thing and I play that for months. And I've been trying to break out of that a little bit, but I am getting better at it. Any ones I recommend, I will probably have a link in the description to where you can pick it up. Especially for the smaller indie ones. There's only a couple there that really qualify for that, but I don't know. Links in the description if you're interested in checking these out on your own. But jumping right into it, let us remember where my cursor is and what window I'm on. Here. I'm not going to talk about this, but I have played Pokemon Violet, but I also did a whole video on it. If I remember, there'll be a link thing up ahead at this point in the video. Ooh. It'd be this corner. Oh wow, I did not color balance that right. Well, it actually blends kind of nicely. I like that. But I don't live in a white void, at least that corner of my room. I just did my video wrong. and I don't feel like changing it because I am still me, and I am still very lazy when it comes to actual video production. But yeah, no, you heard if you want to hear my full thoughts on it, it's there. It's a mainline Pokemon game. It has issues, but it's fun, it's enjoyable. If you like Pokemon, if you're invested in Pokemon, check it out. Any Pokemon has a thing that Pokemon never goes on sale, so it's like, if you're gonna check it out, you're gonna check it out. It's not a game where like, wait a few years till it goes on sale. When it comes to Pokemon and most Nintendo games, it's not that they go on sale, it's just they stop being on sale and you can never get it again. Because why would you want to do that until they do like a remake of it? Or until you emulate it, but something. But I don't have a lot to say that I didn't say in that video. There was stuff about the DLC and that came out a few days ago, and they just also launched 2 new legendaries. I've got one of the 2. I still haven't gotten the Gen 5 deer thing, but as a robot, yet. But I got Old Suicune, or Waking Waters, or whatever it's called. But I just gotta get through that. I just gotta grind out and try for it a few more times. Alright, well next up is Victoria 3. And I had been looking forward to Victoria 3 because I've enjoyed my fair bit of Victoria 2. For those of you who don't know, Victoria 3 is a Paradox game, one of their grand strategy games in the line of CK3 and EU4, and I mean I guess also CK2 and whatnot, because that's still a very good game. But it takes place over mostly the 19th and early 1900s and early 20th century. Sorry, 1800s, or 19th and 20th century. I was correct the first time. Before I corrected myself and we were like, wait, it's not the 19th century, it's the 1900s. Wait, no, 19th century was the correct thing. I'm tired if you can't tell. But this one's much more focused on the economics and kind of the building a global economy aspect of that time period rather than being a pure map painter. Victoria 3 has a lot of issues right now. I'm probably going to do a bigger video on it. I haven't actually played the Victoria 3 1.2 beta quite yet, but based on what my friends have said, it doesn't fix most of the issues that I have with the game. Notably, warfare is rough and not super great, and the fact that all the nations feel very samey, and the fact that they feel samey is a deliberate choice. It's not like, oh, there's just not enough content yet, but the fact that it's like, no, we made the explicit choice that, like, we don't, like, nations should play very similar to each other, which is like, it's not why I play Paradox games. I play for asymmetric start. That's what I like about these things, and they're always going to be asymmetric. It's just, there's nothing that makes the playthroughs unique, and I digress, but I have issues. I'm probably going to do a bigger video on it. Don't pick up this game right now. If you want to play Victoria, pick up Victoria 2 and do some of the community mods to streamline it and make it a bit better. But wait, both because A, it's not quite ready yet, and B, Paradox games do go on sale, like, significantly, and you don't need to pay full price for Victoria 3. So that's where I'm at right now. I'll probably do a bigger video on it, maybe once we have some more updates and I've played around with some of the things they fix, because many of the changes they are making are very good, and they're really great, and I'm looking forward to them. But it's going to take some time before Victoria 3 is there. I like the base of what they have. It just has issues. Next up, Plate Up. I love this game. It came out like late last summer, or maybe it was early fall, I don't remember exactly. But it's a game that you can play with, you can play single player or multiplayer. It's actually a very different game for both. I like the multiplayer more than the single player. Miranda, my girlfriend, really likes playing the multiplayer version of it. Not the multiplayer, the single player version, and has done a lot with that. But it's a game where you're running a restaurant. You start out by choosing a dish like steak or salad, and you're gonna run a restaurant. You have to, like, people come in, they take orders, and as days go on, you get these cards which make it more challenging. They had more dishes, or had, a thing where, like, customers lose patience if you're near them, or things like that. And, if any customer's unhappy at any point, your restaurant sits down. So it has a roguelite element to it. I think it's really fun. It's a lot of fun if you have a friend group to mess around and have it. It's a nice little puzzle to deal with, and it's also been doing really consistent updates, and has been really enjoyable in those updates. They had stuff for Thanksgiving and Christmas and Lunar New Year and Valentine's Day, with new dishes and new map types and new challenge things and things like that. And it's been really cool. There are some mods right now that are helping a lot. I highly recommend. You can get up to 12 people. The big one, though, is no clipping while you're in the preparation, while you're moving your furniture around, because after each day you get to spend money on new furniture to have more plates or better tables or things to help automate the kitchen and whatnot. And it's a lot of fun if you have a few friends. Even just 2 friends is great. 1 person up front, 1 person in the kitchen. It's a lot of fun. It's chaotic a lot of the times, and it's just a really fun little game, and it's really cheap too. Highly recommend checking it out. It also has a free demo if you want to convince your be hey, let's try it out. If a friend group was I want to try it out, definitely check out the demo. It's a lot of fun. Highly recommended. Very catchy music, and it's a cute little style, and yeah, no. We're not playing it all the time right now, but it's one of those things where the updates are coming out frequently enough that we'll we'll get an update and we'll be we'll run through, do a few runs of restaurants, and it's great, and it's a good kind of thing as a rotation for my online friend group of hey, we feel like playing a game this evening. This is fantastic for that. It's concise, it's fun, and yeah. Now, I've been a Dwarf Fortress fan for some time. It's been a couple years since I've really gotten into Dwarf Fortress, just because before the Steam version that just came out, there were some hurdles to getting back into it. Even if you'd been played it before, you had to get back into the muscle memory of where all the shortcuts are, and the UI wasn't great. The Steam release of Dwarf Fortress is fantastic. For those of you who aren't familiar, Dwarf Fortress is one of the base builder games. It's the thing that inspired things like RimWorld and whatnot, where you are playing as a small group of dwarves who you dig into the mountainside and start making mining into the earth, and goblins come and try to steal your stuff, and you have to have defenses and make sure they're all your dwarves are fed, and make sure all they're happy and are tending to their needs, and dealing with traders and whatnot. And the Steam version adds 3 major things. One, it adds a new native graphics pack, which there's always been lots of graphics packs that you could run on the free version of Dwarf Fortress, but this one is very good and very solid. Also, most of these I just grabbed pictures from the Steam pages because I didn't feel like booting them all up because I'm lazy. But it added new graphics, adds a new fantastic soundtrack, and the big one is it added this new, much more user-friendly UI where, there's buttons on the screen that you can press to help dig out things, and it is a lot more intuitive to play and learn now. That if you ever looked at Dwarf Fortress to me this is really cool, but it is so much to get into, and the UI was always a hurdle, definitely check out the Steam edition. The free edition now has the UI updates too, so if you don't mind some of the older graphics with an older graphic tile set and whatnot, those still are there, but I do recommend the Steam version. It's only $30 or something, which isn't too bad especially for the amount of depth and stuff that this game has. Highly recommend, and Strike the Earth. And I've been playing so much of this. Yeah. Alright. I've always been a fan of modded Minecraft, and my friend group recently we tried one pack, which these are in the wrong order. First off, we tried out Stone Block 3. The big thing is that we wanted to play with one of the more recent versions, Create. Create is a mod which is very cool, which adds all these like mechanisms and whatnot, but in kind of a vanilla-y way, where it's not like adding new, it's not like a lot of tech mods which add, new processing methods, but it's like Create, it's mostly the vanilla processing methods, but ways to automate it with like huge multi-block structures with like conveyors and transferring your power with gears and all that, and it's a lot of fun. And Still Block 3 we chose because it was one of these packs that had the latest version of it. And I'd poked around with prior versions of Stone Block before. I didn't actually play through the full pack, and I was like, this is neat. It's essentially the concept of a sky block, but instead of being in an endless void, you're a world that's endless stone. And I enjoy sky blocks for the mechanical challenge of it, but one thing I never liked about them was the fact that it's hard to make your base look good in a sky block. And I am a fan of underground bases, so I was like, this was cool. The pack was very poorly balanced. The biggest issue is the chickens mod, where it's a mod where you can generate resources from chickens, but you could access it way too early. And it kind of just got to the point where we had all the resources we need to get to the end game. And yeah, there were some stuff we could go to, but it felt meaningless because it's like, oh look, we have infinite diamonds and netherite and all that and every other major bottleneck resources that we might need. And I don't feel like, pushing myself through blood magic just because it's going to be like every other blood magic playthrough in every other game. And there wasn't a lot, which is really disappointing from an FTB team made map. Which is so disappointing compared to we started the game and it was like this great lobby area that you could set up multiple teams with their own separate dimensions on a single server, and the lobby was very nicely made. But then you get into the nitty-gritty of how the pack is made, and it just wasn't well made. There was very little integration of the progression through the packs. It was kind of just mods just kind of thrown all together with a few unique recipes for big moving points, but the thing is, as soon as you'd create assembled crafting, which is not hard to get to, you had access to chickens and you had access to, essentially, with a little bit of breeding them, to essentially every resource in the game. Which kind of ruined it for us. And we're like, okay, we're going to check out instead Create Above and Beyond after a few days of okay, we're done with this pack. I went to Create Above and Beyond. Now, Create Above and Beyond was a pack made by the Create team to highlight what Create is doing. And, this pack is a lot of fun. Create is a good mod. The progression is nice. It adds new progression things to, get through, and, it modifies the base Create recipes to, gate some things as you build more and more fancy contraptions. We did run into the issue that it is very linear. This is probably a fantastic map if you're playing single player or a duo, but with 3 of us, it came the issue that only, that there's only really one thing forward at any given time, sometimes 2 that you need to be working on, but everything requires so much planning, and it would have helped a lot if there were some other mods to be working on and some other things that weren't Create things to be automating with Create. And I get that this pack was specifically to highlight Create, but I would like a Create-centric pack that is still more than just Create. Granted, we only got through the first few the first couple tech ages, and we're onto onto the 4th mechanism now that we're making, but at the same time, it's we kind of got bored with it. And just because it was very linear, there wasn't a lot to do. Before we shut down the server, I might do a tour of our base, because the base was very pretty and very nice. But, it could have had a little bit more meat and a little more things to do that I like, because it seemed to be yeah, eventually you get access to some other mods, but it wasn't really, it was still in service, it was still I don't know how to say it, but I don't know. Granted, I am in Infinity Expert Mode, 1710 fangirl, and no pack has come close to Infinity Evolved Expert Mode to me, but that happens. And, I have general thoughts on, like, the state of modern modded Minecraft that I have issues with, and I might do another video on that at some point, but it just didn't grab me in the way as many past packs have done, and it's sad because there was a lot there, and Create is fantastic, but I just want a good pack that is Create centered, that has a bit more meat to it, and that's all I have to say to that. So kind of my friend group that, like, I'm only kind of part of, but, like, it's one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, I'm hanging out with my friend and their friends, but I'm not super friends with them, but I don't know. But anyway, we've been playing Barotrauma, which is this game about you are running a submarine in the semi-near future, underneath in the oceans of the moon of Europa. So you're running a submarine, and there's sea monsters, and everyone has their defined roles and whatnot. And I have no idea what's going on, but there's a build in there that just lets me stand around doing nothing, and I'm actually helpful to everyone, and that's what I do. I hang out with people in voice, I stand around, I provide my aura of competence to everyone else. There's a perk I took that essentially made me terrible about doing everything, but my mere presence makes everyone better. So that's the build I'm going for, and giving, like, everyone else, like, more aura buffs around me, or in, like, boosting the XP of everyone on the ship and whatnot. And it's a lot of fun. It's really cool. One thing I do have a gripe with is it is not great at all for colorblind people. I'm colorblind, and many of the readouts are near impossible for me to read. Just because it requires, like, different lights, and it's very atmospheric and it's like, it's not trying to be, like, it is purposefully confusing, but in a way that it is purposefully not easy to read, but in the way that it was made hard to read, it made me, who's colorblind, impossible to read some of these readouts, which is an issue. As a game, you do need friends. Like, play it up. If you don't have friends you play games with, it's still a fun game on your own. Barotrauma, there are ways to play without friends, but you really need to have a group. There are, like, NPCs you can hire to help run ship operations and automate it to an extent, but it's not the same as doing it with a bunch of people. Yeah, I don't know if I can recommend this or not, but, it's fun if you have a group of friends already playing it, but I don't know enough to really recommend it one way or the other. It's neat, it's spooky, it's cool. I die a lot, but, yeah. Alright, I am super late on getting into Slay the Spire. Like, I mean, if you're involved with the Magic community at all, like, this went through, I mean, like, even, it goes beyond the Magic community, but, like, it's a card game. It was talked about among Magic circles a lot a few years ago when it came out, and I didn't check it out, and then I finally checked it out, like, last December, and I was like, wait, yeah, no, this game's really good. Highly recommend it. I don't have much to say that hasn't been said about Slay the Spire, but it's just a good game. It's a deck building roguelike that you build a deck, you go through levels of monsters, and you have to fight them, and there's different classes that have, like, different cards that you get, and different strategies that you approach. I'm personally a fan of the Defect, although the Ironclad I've been playing a lot more of lately, and it's been going up on my tier list. I have been called to by the Siren Song of $500 damage heavy blade attacks. But no, it's a lot of fun. One thing I will recommend is the Switch port is very good. And it's a great kind of, hey, I'm waiting for, in the lobby of a doctor's office type of game where it's like, okay, let's, wait some time, because, it's completely turn-based, so you don't have to worry about, like, any, like, you can pause it at any time. It's a great, it's a good waiting game to fill some space. While also being a good, like, I just want to sit down for an hour and do a run through. But yeah, no, highly recommend, like, even if you're not, like, a fan of things like Magic and whatnot, because like even though I mentioned like it was big in the Magic community, it's not like that in many ways. But it is a card game if you don't like card games, even if you don't like single player card games. Okay, maybe you don't, but it's very good. It has a very good reputation for a reason. And it's also on like every console and like phone and tablet and whatnot that is out there. There is on the Steam version, there is kind of like officially endorsed third-party mod expansion to it that I keep meaning to check out, that adds like a new class and some other things to it that I keep meaning to do. But I mostly play it just on my Switch. But yeah, no, it is very good. Highly recommend. I also know I'm really unique. Also, Spire's good, but I mean, it is, and I just got into it, so. Melfor Idol. One thing I don't think how much I've talked about this on the channel is that like I actually I do a lot of checking out and playing around of idle games, idle and incremental games, I should say. You know, the kind of thing like I haven't played in ages, but like, you know, things like Cookie Clicker is like the big one that actually went mainstream, but you know, it's a whole genre of games that usually they're, you know, web-based things. And I mean, in recent years there has been a shift to essentially a lot of them are more like mobile microtransaction, like, you know, Skinnerbox games, but there are still a lot of very good, you know, browser-based, you know, ones that I do a lot of exploring there. There's a good subreddit for it that I'm also might link in the description. That's the Incremental Game subreddit, which is a good place to like look and find new things that they're making. It's a neat little space of like small developers a lot of the time that are like, you know, doing just fun little projects and doing like little microcosms of like proof of concept game design stuff, and I really like it. But in the last couple years, I think it was only in the last couple years, Melfor Idol came out, and it essentially is what if you abstracted all of like the resource chains and skills and whatnot of RuneScape into an idle game? And it's a lot of fun. Like that, it took its like baseline of like that, and it still made it its own thing. Where it's like, yeah, it took, you know, the base skills that you expect from RuneScape, and it puts its own spin on a lot of them, and it's a lot of fun. They actually got picked up by Jagex as a publisher, so it's also not at risk of like, you know, oh look, they're gonna get C&D'd because they just copied RuneScape, but no, it's actually being published by the same people now, and highly recommend. It's a lot of fun. They recently had an expansion late last year where it expanded all the content to 120. I still haven't gone through all the Throne of the Herald content, and I did have some issues of some things of like Township. I have a bullet point there for mentioning that, whereas like it wasn't as polished, but you don't need to touch Township, and they have plans of essentially doing a big overhaul to make it more integrated with the rest of the game. But no, I really like it. It's great if you like want the itch of playing RuneScape without actually like having the time to invest in playing RuneScape. Stuff like, you know, especially one of those things where it's like, you know, hey, I played RuneScape back when I was like in middle school and whatnot, but like, you know, I don't have the time to like get back into old school, and RS3 doesn't like appeal to me these days because it is a different game than it was, you know, back in 2006. Definitely check out Melfor Idol. It gives you kind of a similar itch without being as constantly demanding for your attention. And you can just check in on it once a day or whatnot to do it. And, you know, it's a lot of fun. The developers are cool people, and, yeah. Speaking of RuneScape, I am still playing RuneScape 3. I recently started a new account for some reason, but I had a fun time with Fresh Start Worlds end of last year. I got my inverted 120 archaeology cape that I'm still waiting to unlock on my new character. I did start a Tumblr side blog for RuneScape, if you want to check that out in the description. If you want to follow along with what I'm doing. I'll also probably do a video on like, here's what's going on in RuneScape, what I've been doing. No, I like the game. I have nothing new to say about RuneScape 3. I mean, I really liked the Zamorak and Civil lore quests. Like, it wasn't a huge plot line, but like, it was really good, and I'm excited for where the story's going, and I really like Trendine. And the story's in a really good spot, and I mean, still, like, RuneScape 3, like, the community is rancid, but, And like, you know, I can never tell being like, well, you get weak, like people complain when it's like, oh, we only got like, you know, bug fixes and patches this week. We didn't actually get content. I'm like, I mean, like the next thing up here is Guild Wars 2, where I'm like, I'm desperate, being like, please give us any content, any sort of communication that you're making content, please. Meanwhile, in RuneScape 3 is like, oh no, we only got 2 new pieces of content on top of it, and then also like, you know, it's only patches and microtransactions this week. It's like, what world are you living in where that is unsatisfactory? I mean, like, have all your complaints for the specific things they are doing. Like, I have my own issues, but, like, at least they're talking to you, and they should, by all means, should not be with how awful the community is to the devs. But no, I'm really enjoying it. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, like RuneScape. La-di-da. Big news. Yeah. But no, I'll probably do a video on that, and... But then again, also, like, it's one of those things at the end of the day. It's like, do I recommend playing RuneScape 3 to people? And my answer is probably no, you shouldn't. Like, don't, if you're not already get into it, or if, like, played in the past, like, it's not a new player-friendly experience. If you have nostalgia of playing as a kid, honestly, don't even get into old school. Pick up Melfor Idol. If that scratches your itch, great. If it doesn't, maybe try old school. RS3 has a lot of issues with its new player experience. The UI is inscrutable unless you know what you're doing, and there's no way to share UI layouts, which is really not great and would be really annoying. It's really annoying whenever you want to like start up a new account or things like that. But I enjoy it, but that's only because I've already invested so much time and knowledge and learning it that I can't actually recommend it to anyone else. Guild Wars 2. There will be a video incoming on this. We got the first piece of new story and the first piece of like truly new content in like a year since last expansion dropped. And it was not great, and we still don't have a clear idea of what they're doing this year. Beginning of February, people were like, hey Nat, what are you releasing this year? Like, you're an MMO, like, you communicate with us, please. And like most other MMO companies are, you know, putting out what they're doing in the next year first week of January, if not already like in December before they go on winter break. And they're like, no, it's gonna take a couple more weeks before we can, it's gonna be a couple weeks before we have a roadmap for you. And they release a thing that isn't even a roadmap. It's a general statement about how we're reorganizing, how we're approaching making content, and, you know, we're abandoning the living world model that we've done for the last 8 years, and we're gonna be switching it to, you know, you know, we're gonna be doing like a smaller expansion every year, and with like, you know, smaller content to buffer that out or something. It was all very vague, and there will be a new patch on February 28th, which came out and was like maybe half of a living world update, and with only vague notions that maybe we'll get something in July, or was it June, or something like that. It was like still a while away, and I don't know. I have lots of issue with the development of the game right now, and it's only compounded with the not complete lack, but the overwhelming lack of communication from ArenaNet's part. Do I recommend the game? You know, the game has the story through End of Dragons is a fun experience. It has issues, it has rough spots here and there. I do like that they went and finally re-released, like they repackaged Living World Season 1, so there isn't that jump from the end of the base game to Living World Season 2. That, like, you know, if you want to check it out, it has a great feeling combat system. And honestly, if you're looking for an MMO at this point, it's still not a terrible game to play. It's just, as someone who's played the game since launch, who played Guild Wars 1 years prior to that, it is not keeping up. Like, especially when you, like, you know, hold up a mirror to things like WoW or Final Fantasy, Final Fantasy 14. And I know it's not completely a fair comparison when you look at amount of content, because, you know, they are games with much higher revenue and much larger player bases that can support a larger development team. But ANET isn't communicating about what they are doing. And, I mean, even with the new patch, like, the things they do are consistently gorgeous, and they're beautiful environments and level design, and everything's very pretty, and just coupled with a lack of engaging gameplay for someone who's been playing for that long. And I get to an extent, yes, there's only so much you can do to keep up with, you know, burnout of someone. Not burnout, but like when someone has played so long that they have done almost everything. Yeah, there's only so much of that, but it's like the lack of communication makes me just assume the worst about everything that's in the works. So, yeah. I'll probably do a more cohesive video on my thoughts on the current state of Guild Wars 2, but it is free to play, and for the base game, and up through Living World Season 1, and it has a great feeling combat system. It's one of the reasons I like, and, you know, I do like the lore, I like the world, it's just, I wish they did more with it. And it's like, yeah, I've thought about checking out Final Fantasy 14, but there's some things of that just don't click with me as well. Like, generally speaking, when I'm looking for an MMO, I'm looking for a Western fantasy MMO that, Final Fantasy 14 is a Final Fantasy. It's very much a, Japanese fantasy style world and things like that, and that doesn't click the same boxes and click the same things that I enjoy about things like RuneScape's lore and RuneScape's world, and Guild Wars 2's world and lore and all that. I mean, like, I have been assured by people who've quit friends who play the game that it's a great game, and, you know, there's a reason it is the most growing one. I mean, I've also thought about trying out WoW, but I don't need to get into WoW. But yeah. I don't know, I have complex thoughts when it comes to MMOs these days, and I am sad that the one that I am most invested in that isn't RuneScape. Because RuneScape, yeah, it is an MMO, but it's also very different from the other ones. It's a completely different beast. But of, like, you know, the thing where it's like, Guild Wars 2 is still, like, the third biggest MMO, but it's like, WoW and Final Fantasy are up here. And then it's like a pretty big gap before you get to Guild Wars 2 at number 3, and alongside things like ESO and all that. But yeah. This picture I did take on my own. It's my new main that I picked up in the last year, which is, if you had told me like a year, like, well, not a year ago, like even just a year ago that like, yeah, you're not going to be playing your human thief anymore as your main, you're going to be playing a char engineer, I would have said, no, that can't be true. But then I fell in love with Healing Alacrity Mechanist, and not just because it was OP for a while, like even now it's just like, oh, it has such a good play feel. I don't know, also the char model is very cool, I love the char. Now for a game that I'm not actually playing yet, but I'm excited for. Since I actually made this slideshow a few weeks ago, it is out now, the Early Access for Kerbal Space Program 2. It's exciting, it's cool, I am so pumped for this game. It's not quite there where I'm going to really want to dive into it yet. They're doing an early access thing where right now it has essentially the game as it was like before the science update, and like when they added the science system to KSP1, which is about when I started playing KSP1, but it's missing so many features that I would rather just play KSP1 right now. But I'm very excited about it. It is very pretty and has a lot of cool things planned out, and I'm excited about the multiplayer and dragging my friends into it, but that is all a bit down the road still. And I'm probably going to, once the science update's out and there's some amount of like progression over the course of campaign, with like unlocking new parts and all that, I will definitely check out, I might do some streaming of it because I love Kerbal Space Program 1. Kerbal Space Program 1 is probably my favorite game, like, ever. and I am very pumped about the KSP2. It's just I am being patient and waiting until there's a bit more to it right now. And that's it. We reached the end of most of what I've been playing lately. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't actually have that many final thoughts. I don't know why I have a final thoughts page. And I'm also going to move off of that one so I'm not orange. Yeah, no. I don't know. There was nothing going in here. I was just kind of like, here, let me ramble about what I've been playing lately. Yeah. I've been thinking about getting back into Animal Crossing and firing that back up. I don't know. I've been having that itch lately. Also, there's a video coming up, and probably the next one I make is going to be Lily's big update of where she is with magic, which is kind of like nebulously, but I'm excited about Eldraine and Ixalan, so I might be coming back for that. Yeah, so I am... Where was I going with that? Yeah, that's gonna be coming out, but that's a bigger discussion. Talk about where I am with Magic, where it's like, do I still play Magic? I'm like, I mean, I haven't played a game in a couple months, but yes, I haven't like quit the game. I've just been feeling unengaged with it. So that's what I have to say here and what I have to say for this video. I don't know. Do you disagree with me in any way? Engage with my content and leave comments so YouTube thinks that I'm doing stuff. I don't know. I don't care. I hope you're all doing well. If you have any game recommendations for me, like, I don't know, I'm always looking out for stuff, especially like smaller indie stuff. I recently hung out with some friends on a server when we had watched a playthrough of an airport run by dogs, and fantastic. A+. Beautiful. But more in the, indie sphere of things. But, yeah, no. I've been trying to diversify. I've been trying, even though I'm not, I haven't super diversified, but, I have been trying to explore more and be more willing to look into stuff. But, despite their best efforts, I am still not getting into the Total War Warhammer games like my friends are really trying to get me into. It's not my thing, and I'm avoiding it. But all that said, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day or evening or night or whatever it is. And as always, may your story smile upon you.